The desert night was thick, reeking of diesel and sand. That clung like a bad memory. I'm Ethan Cole, 32, a fighter pilot with the U.S. Air Force. More at ease in an F-22 Raptor's cockpit than anywhere on solid ground. At 40,000 feet, it's just you, the radar's ping, and the crackle of radio. Chatter, bogeys on your 6. Sam's lighting up the scope, every second a test of nerve. I've flown missions over Syria, dodged surface-to-air missiles, and brought my bird home on fumes and guts. Chaos is my day job. But no dogfight, no near-miss with a Sam ever hit me like the chaos that tore through my life from 7,000 miles away. It was April 2025. 6 months into my deployment at a forward operating base on Syria's edge, a sprawl of tents, concrete slabs, and generators that hummed like a migraine. Days were a grind, pre-flight briefs at dawn. Sorties that left your hands jittery, and the kind of bone-deep tired that sleep couldn't fix. My only anchor was Marissa James, my fiancée, the girl whose letters kept me from cracking when the sky turned mean. Her words, scribbled in blue ink, smudged with that flowery perfume she wore, were my shield. I'd read them after rough missions when a squad mate's jet didn't come back, when tracer fire lit the horizon like a twisted 4th of July. Growing up in Ohio, I'd spent Sundays cheering the Buckeyes with my dad, scarfing skyline chili like it was a religion. Those roots kept me grounded even out here in the sandbox. That night, I just dragged myself off a 10-hour mission, my flight suit soaked, my head buzzing like I'd been dodging bogeys all day. The barracks were a mess of sagging tents, lit by bulbs that flickered like they were on their last legs. I flopped onto my cot, boots crusted with sand, and fired up my Dell laptop, a relic that groaned under the base's crap Wi-Fi. I was expecting mission updates, maybe a dumb meme from a squad mate about the Cowboys choking again. Instead, there was an email from Jake Turner, my best friend since we were kids, tearing up backroads in his dad's Chevy. No subject, just 16 words that hit like a hellfire. Man, I hate doing this, but Marissa's been stepping out on you big time. Sorry. My chest locked up like I'd yanked 9GS in a barrel roll. I read it again, eyes burning, willing it to be a glitch. Jake didn't mess around. We'd enlisted together, survived flight school's meat grinder, bought beers for each other's promotions. He wouldn't gut me like this unless he was dead sure. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, heart jackhammering. I wanted to call Marissa, hear her laugh it off, tell me Jake was full of it. But I was in a war zone, with a mission in 12 hours and a tent full of pilots. Who'd smell blood if I lost my cool? Punching out wasn't an option. I closed the laptop, knuckles white, and lay back, staring at the tense canvas, sagging like my world. My pulse was a freight train, my throat tight with a mix of anger, grief, and something sharper, betrayal. Marissa's face flashed, her hazel eyes, her grin, the way she'd slid that ring on, swearing she'd wait. I wanted to believe Jake got it wrong, but doubt was a knife, twisting deep. I thought of the house we'd bought, the life we'd planned, the letters tucked in my flight suit. Then I thought of Jake's words cutting through it all. A squad mate, Ruiz, poked his head in, grinning. Yo, Cole, you betting on the Cowboys this week or what? They're gonna choke again. I forced a smirk, muttering always do to keep him off my trail. He laughed and wandered off, leaving me with the silence. The desert night pressed in, a jet's roar fading in the distance. I wasn't just a pilot who owned the skies. I was a guy who could fix this one way or another. Marissa had picked a fight she didn't know she'd lose. I needed answers and I needed a plan. By morning, I'd have one. 5 years ago, life had a pulse, like the hum of a V8 on an open road. I was in flight training at Lackland Air Force Base, burning through days in simulators and nights memorizing manuals. My world zeroed in on earning my wings. It was brutal, but it was my dream, sparked as a kid in Ohio, fixing carburetors in my dad's garage while the Buckeyes blared on the radio. On a rare weekend off, I stumbled into a San Antonio coffee shop, dead on my feet in a faded Air Force Academy t-shirt. That's when I saw her, Marissa James, standing outside, her chestnut hair glowing in the Texas sun, laughing with a friend like she was the center of the universe. She had this spark that made the air feel lighter, and for some dumb reason, I walked over and said, "Hey, you look like you're having too much fun." Marissa was 27, hustling in public relations, running campaigns for startups and Tex-Mex joints. She was sharp, ambitious, with a laugh that could stop a bar fight. We ended up on a park bench, talking till 2 a.m., swapping stories like old friends. I told her about Ohio Sunday pot roasts at my mom's, drag racing with Jake, my dad's, lectures about grit. She spilled about Austin, her dream of owning a PR firm, her fear of getting stuck in a life too small. By dawn, I was gone, free-falling, and not caring about the crash. We built something real despite the odds. Military life chews up. Love, deployments, training, PCS, orders, but Marissa was my rock. She'd drive 3 hours from Austin to see me, stealing weekends between her pitches. And my flight drills. We'd burn pancakes in my shoebox apartment. Bicker over Springsteen versus Tom Petty and dream big. She wanted a brand that'd make waves. I wanted to fly until the sky wasn't a mystery. We'd hit up Whataburger at midnight. Her blasting Miranda Lambert, me laughing at her off-key singing. One night, she dragged me to mi Tiara for tacos, giggling as I butchered Spanish. Salsa dripping down my chin. She said San Antonio was home, better than Austin's hipster bars. Her PR gigs weren't easy, clients ghosted, her firm stalled, and she'd vent about being stuck in middle management. I'd listen. But I was deep in training, my head full of vectors and fuel ratios. We fought sometimes, her mad at my long hours, me frustrated when she'd cancel plans for work. But we'd patch it up, usually over beers at a dive bar or during a Behar County fair. Date, eating funnel cakes, and riding a rickety Ferris wheel, her screaming at the top. When I got my active duty commission, we went all in. We bought a house near the base, a split-level fixer-upper with creaky floors, and a porch begging for paint. We sanded cabinets, argued over ocean breeze versus navy dusk for the walls, laughed till we couldn't breathe. I proposed in that cluttered living room, down on one knee, heart pounding like a dogfight. The ring was simple, a band I'd saved for, but when she said yes, tears streaming, it felt like we'd won it all. We were building a home, a future, a vow. The deployment hit like a freight train. One day we were picking curtains, joking about the ugly old ones. The next I was at the airport, kissing her forehead, promising I'd come back. "I'll wait, Ethan," she said, voice breaking, hands gripping mine. Her hazel eyes were wet, and I believed her. She was my home, the reason I'd face hell in a cockpit. Her letters were my lifeline, handwritten, smudged with perfume. They'd arrive every few weeks, full of pride and love. "You're my hero," she wrote, counting the days till you're back. I kept them in my flight suit, reading them when the base shook with blasts or when a buddy's bunk sat empty. They were my North Star. But there were cracks I didn't want to see. Marissa's calls got shorter. Her emails clipped, full of work stress or vague gripes. She'd mention late nights, clients bailing, her dreams slipping. I'd brush it off. Distance is tough, right? I was gone too much, buried in missions, focused on not dying. I told myself we'd fix it when I got back, that love could bridge anything. Looking back, I was scared to face the truth. We were two people holding something fragile across oceans, and I thought promises were bulletproof. I was dead wrong. Jake's email was a hellfire missile, and the shockwave ripped me open. He'd seen Marissa at Rusty's, a dive bar in our town, her hand brushing some dudes, their laughs too cozy. Jake wasn't into drama. He'd been my wingman since we were kids, enlisted with me, got drunk when I earned my wings. He wrote about whispers from friends, screenshots from her private Instagram posts tagged #YOLO and #live your best life. Locked down but not from Jake's buddy who followed her. It wasn't a slip-up. It was a playbook running months. I was in the barracks, my laptop's glow slicing the dark. My cot, creaking like it was pissed too. The base was quiet, just generators and boots crunching outside. I read Jake's words, chest so tight I thought I'd crack. Denial hit. Maybe Jake misread it. Maybe the guy was a coworker. But Jake didn't shoot blind. He'd pulled me through my mom's cancer scare, called first when I got stationed in Texas. I snuck to the comm tent, the Wi-Fi garbage, and called him, voice low. "You sure, man?" His sigh crackled. "Yeah, bro. Saw her at Rusty's twice, same tool. Friends are talking. It's foobar." I hung up, head spinning. I wanted to call Marissa, hear her laugh it off. But a call would mean losing it where pilots could hear. Instead, I logged into our Ring cameras, set up for break-ins, not this. The app loaded like molasses. But the footage hit hard, Marissa in our kitchen. Pouring wine for a slick guy, gym rat build, smirking like he owned the place. Their hands brushed as she handed him a glass. Another clip showed them on our IKEA couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. My stomach lurched, bile burning. I slammed the laptop shut, hands shaking, the dark swallowing me. Then bank alerts piled on. I'd set notifications for our joint account, a habit from stretching a pilot's pay. The charges were a middle finger. Dinners at the Grill hotel rooms in Dallas and Miami. A $500 jewelry charge not for me. My savings or house down payment were bankrolling her side hustle. Every transaction was a lie, every dollar a knife. A squad mate, Ruiz, wandered in. Tossing a football. Yo, Cole, Cowboys or Eagles Sunday? Bet you a course. I forced a grin, Cowboys choke, man, to keep him off my scent. He laughed, tossing the ball, and left. Alone? The pain was a vice, my pulse a jackhammer. I thought of her letters, still in my flight suit, and felt like a chump. Every I love you was a con. Why? Was it the distance? My deployments? Did she stop loving me, or was she never who I thought? I wanted to scream, but I was a pilot. Losing it gets you killed. I forced my breathing to slow, like leveling off at 40,000 feet. I couldn't confront her yet, not from here, not with missions stacked. But I wasn't crashing. I'd outloaned Sam's, brought my bird home through hell. I could do this. I'd get the truth. Take back what was mine, not with bar fights or tears, but with precision. Marissa thought she could rewrite our story. She'd learned she picked the wrong guy to screw over. I didn't sleep. My caught a cage. My brain stuck on Marissa's laugh, that guy's smirk, the bank alerts ticking like a bomb. By morning, I had a plan, rough but solid. Confronting her from a war zone was a no-go. Too raw. And she'd spin lies over a shaky line. I needed facts, not excuses. I emailed Carl, a retired Fed turned PI, vouched for by a squad mate after his divorce. Carl was grit, chewing tobacco over a staticky call, sounding like he'd chased deadbeats since Reagan. Gimme your accounts, Ring logins, her socials, he said. 2 weeks, you'll know the score. Waiting was torture. Missions didn't pause, and I had to fly while Betrayal chewed me up. Every hop was a gut check, keeping the jet steady, my head from spinning out. The F-22's roar usually drowned the noise, but Marissa's face haunted the contrails. One mission, I nearly botched a maneuver, my focus slipping, the ground rushing to close. My wingman chewed me out post-flight. Get your head in the game, Cole. I nodded, jaw tight, shoving the hurt down. Nights were worse. Bolting awake, her perfume in my dreams, fists clenched. I questioned myself. Was I gone too long? Did I miss her cries for help? But the footage, her hand on his arm, their cozy vibe, turned doubt to steel. I was pissed, and that was fuel. I emailed Tom, my lawyer, a former JAG officer, stealing time in the comm tent, fighting for a satellite line. She's draining our account, planning to sell the house, I typed, attaching Carl's early fines. Tom was cool as ice. We'll freeze the accounts for fraud, hold the house sale, file a civil claim for breach of fiduciary duty. She's misusing assets. That's a violation. It wasn't clean. Freezing accounts needed. Affidavits, and the bank pushed back, citing joint ownership. The household needed a judge's signature, delayed by a backlog. I draft emails on a lagging laptop, Wi-Fi dropping, sand in the keys. One call with Tom got cut mid-sentence, leaving me cursing in the tent. The stress piled on, missions and legal crap a double shift. Some days, I stared at Marissa's letters, stuffed in a duffel, wondering if I was the villain, punishing a woman who'd felt ditched. Then I'd see Carl's receipts, $800 for a Miami hotel, and keep grinding. 2 weeks later, Carl's report landed, a 30-page PDF heavier than a bomb. Marissa wasn't just seeing one guy, 2, maybe 3, over months. She'd been smart using cash early, but got cocky charging dinners at the Grill. Dallas hotels, a Miami weekend. Carl found emails to a friend bragging about moving on after I got back. Transferring money to a secret account. Prepping to sell the house. Screenshots showed her Instagram posts in bars, arm around a fake tan dude. Captioned new vibes. She thought distance was her shield. Carl was a bloodhound. Pulling receipts, call logs, every lie in black and white. The legal fight was a slog. Tom filed the claim, but Marissa's bank contested the freeze, demanding a deposition. The court dragged on the household, needing a preliminary hearing. I'd lie awake, desert stars through a tent flap, wondering if I was right. Justice wasn't revenge. But it felt like a bad country song, heartbreak, betrayal, the works. I wanted my savings, my home, my dignity. Marissa had built a life on lies, but I wasn't letting her take mine. Every email, every signature was a brick in a wall, not to trap her, but to save me. When the time came, I'd face her, not a wreck, but a guy who'd outflown the storm. I landed stateside in June 2025. Boots hitting the tarmac outside San Antonio. Texas heat like a slap. 8 months in a war zone, and I was back. No welcome crew, just me, a duffel, and 30 days leave I didn't know how to fill. I hadn't told anyone, not even Marissa. Jake picked me up in his F-150, a Longhorns flag on the antenna, the truck we'd taken to bonfires back in Ohio. He tossed me a gas station coffee. Eyes scanning me like I was a jet pre-flight. "You good, man?" he asked. "Not yet," I said, staring as Texas hills blurred past. The radio off, silence heavy. "But I'm working on it." The drive to the house was quiet, sunbaking. The asphalt, my gut twisting. The house was ours, mine and Marissa's, a split level with a porch we'd painted blue. A Longhorns flag from that game we cheered at. A rodeo billboard flashed by, reminding me of fair nights with her. It was supposed to be our forever. But as we pulled up, it felt wrong. 3 cars lined the street, none familiar, and pop music leaked out, Billie Eilish, not loud, but enough for a small crowd, 7 or 8 people. My jaw locked, hands steady on the duffel strap. I didn't knock. My key worked, the lock clicking like a chambered round. Inside, the living room was warm, lamplight bouncing, air thick with wine and chatter. Marissa's co-workers or new friends lounged, laughing over dumb jokes. Marissa stood by the coffee table, wine glass in hand, smiling at the guy from Carl's photos, tall, gym rat, salesman smile. His hand grazed her arm. Too cozy. Heads turned as I walked in, boots loud. But Marissa didn't clock me until I was halfway across. "Ethan," she whispered, glass freezing, face white. The guy frowned. "What's this dude's deal?" he muttered. "We need to talk," I said, low but solid. "Alone." She followed to the kitchen, door swinging shut. It smelled like her lavender candles. Same as when we'd cook tacos, danced to her playlists. I pulled a folder from my jacket, bank statements, screenshots, Tom's letter on the asset freeze and civil claim. I dropped it on the counter. "You thought I wouldn't find out. The grill dinners, Dallas hotels, Miami. You thought you could siphon our savings, sell our house, ghost me." Her breath hitched, hands twisting. "Ethan, I was in a bad place," she said, voice breaking. "You were gone for months, and I was alone, staring at walls, wondering if you'd die. My firm tanked, clients bailed, and I couldn't reach you. I screwed up, but I didn't mean to hurt you." Her tears hit me, showing the Marissa I'd loved, scared, human, caught. It stung, but not enough. "A bad place doesn't mean stealing," I said. "You planned to ditch me, moved money to a secret account. You didn't just cheat. You tried to wipe me out." She shook her head, tears falling. "I was drowning, Ethan. The fear, the loneliness. Not knowing if you'd come home in a box. I messed up, but you were never here. You picked the sky over me." Her words were flack, and I wanted to fire back. I was fighting for us, for something bigger. But I didn't. "That's no excuse," I said. "You made choices. The accounts are frozen. The house is on hold. My lawyers got the rest. We're done." She reached for my arm, fingers brushing. "Ethan, please, can we talk?" "No," I said, stepping back. "You burned that bridge. Deal with it." I walked out past the clueless guy, past the quiet friends, there, eyes darting. Outside, Jake leaned against his truck, tossing a cigarette. "Told you she'd crash and burn, man," he said, grinning. "Beer at Rusty's? You're better off." "Yeah," I said, sliding in, hands steady despite the ache. "Let's get outta here." We peeled out, the house fading, and I felt air in my lungs. It wasn't peace. Just the start of something new. The weeks after were a mess. Like flying blind in a storm. Marissa didn't vanish quietly. She hired a hotshot lawyer, spinning a tale about me abandoning her, saying my deployments drove her to cope. It was flimsy bank records. Screenshots, call logs. Were airtight, but it dragged on. Court filings stacked up, the bank disputes ate my savings, every lawyer's bill a jab. Some friends bought her story. Ghosting me or texting crap like, cut her slack. Others reached out, voices low, sorry for missing her lies. It wasn't about teams. It was about burying the life we thought was real. The house sold after 4 months of legal tug-of-war, proceeds split heavy in my favor. I got most of my savings, but attorney fees stung, and the emotional toll hit harder. Friends said Marissa moved to Austin, struggling, her PR dreams on hold. I didn't hate her. Hate's a fire that burns you too, and I was done feeding it. I wanted to move on. Find solid ground after freefall. I hit the road, borrowing Jake's Harley, tearing through the Southwest. I chased desert highways, the sky so big it swallowed my problems. I stopped at a Route 66 diner, Elvis memorabilia on the walls, scarfing a burger. With truckers swapping stories. At the Grand Canyon's edge, wind whipping my jacket, I stood, feeling small but free. The hurt was there, a dull ache, but it didn't own me. I camped under stars like spilled sugar, thinking about love, trust, the cracks I'd ignored, my months away, Marissa's unanswered calls. Fights we buried. I wasn't blameless. I'd been locked into flying, surviving, missing her slip. But I didn't deserve her betrayal. Nobody does. In an Albuquerque bar. A Vietnam vet bought me a Budweiser, hands scarred, eyes sharp. You don't get over it, he said, talking Nam, a wife who left. You get stronger. Keep moving, son. His words stuck. Carried me through Arizona's Red Rocks, past Roswell's UFO Museum, back to Texas. At base, I leaned into the grind, routine a lifeline. I mentored new pilots, kids fresh out of school. Eyes big with nerves and dreams. I took them up in trainers, barking, don't chase the needle, fly the jet. One kid, Ruiz, a skinny Texan, reminded me of me at 22. He botched a landing, panicked. And I pulled him aside. You'll get it, I said. Mistakes don't define you. Keep climbing. He nodded, and I saw myself learning to rebuild, to fly through the hurt. Don't let the brass grind you down, I added, clapping his shoulder. He grinned, and I felt lighter. The hurt hit in waves, quiet nights, or passing a mall kiosk with her. Perfume, the scent a punch. But it was softer, a bruise, not a blade. I didn't chase rebounds, didn't fill the silence with noise. I focused on what was mine, the sky, the jet, the squad who got it. I rebuilt, not the old life, but something tougher, real. Betrayal's not the end. It's a storm you fly through, a fire you walk out of. It shows you who you are when the world goes dark. I'm still flying, chasing the horizon. Wings steady when the wind howls. I don't see Marissa in the wreckage. I see the man I became, one who knows his worth, charts his course. Won't let anyone steal his skies. If you're carrying this hurt, hear me, you'll fly again. Not today, not tomorrow, but you will. The skies are wide, the stars are waiting, and you're tougher than you know. Keep climbing.